Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 273, and we're going to talk about how to generate leads. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there struggle with this subject every day, and they wonder how to do it. So I brought on an expert. His name's Bryan Durkin, and I've known Bryan in the inner circles of Planet Dan for years. And we'll mention Planet Dan and probably a few times. And if you don't know, Planet Dan refers to Dan Kennedy. So, Bryan, thank you for being here. And
Glad to be here.
for those that are curious, it's Bryan with a Y, not an I.
Just in case you can't spell it on, depending
Right.
if you're listening to this, that's important to know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I find that those people with a Y in their name always seem to be more fascinating.
Yeah, we are because we get chastised because our name was apparently spelled wrong from birth. Anyway,
Well, let's just jump right in and talk
sure.
about generating leads because I've been through many seminars through with Dan Kennedy, with Glazer Kennedy, with Adam Whitty when he ran them, and so I got to experience a lot of the same people going to these events, and but over the years, I started in old school, so I had to do the print marketing, I had to do the postcards and the letters, and then and I lived through the whole internet thing, getting those websites up. And I think I've had a website now for 25 years at least. Um, but I find that most new entrepreneurs have no clue about letters and postcards and funnels, and they just think, hey, let's get a website up there and that's all we need to do. And no, you got to do so much more.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's just one. Obviously, you and I know it's just one tactic, right? So having presence is one thing. Obviously, driving traffic is incredibly important, but then and even more important is following up with people that you meet. So you think about, I a long time ago I wrote an article in some magazine called the low volume funnel, high
Mhm.
value, right? Just think about it. Most entrepreneurs don't even think about they could just go to a local networking event. They're not going to put a sign up over their head like that guy on Instagram that says, buy slip and fall insurance for me, or did your mother get hit by a bus kind of thing. You're going to say, hey, I do this, I do this, I do that. So, you go to a room and like you have to identify, hey, who's my perfect target?
Yeah.
You're not going to talk to everybody unless you're the coffee guy and you're annoying and just go away. But still, like, so you want to find those people. But what folks don't do is they don't follow up. Right.
Yeah.
So that's like the easy. So regardless of a funnel, right, or regardless of a website, is that, once you identify, even as you're starting out, depending on where you are and who the listeners are, is that you got to follow up and you got to do it consistently. And if you can't do it, someone's got to do it because it's
Right.
got to happen, right?
Well, not just consistently, but you have to have I think, a way for you to stand out above the crowd. So if I'm going to send emails to somebody and I have, it could be a funnel, it could be a sequence, and they're going to get, 20 or 30 emails after the fact that, hey, you signed up or you gave me your email or whatever. Most of them are going to go in their junk, their spam box,
Right.
and they're never going to see them. So why not get their address, follow up with a postcard, or send them a box of chocolates or something. Now you're standing out above everyone
It's
else.
all about the math. Oh, we have a little tech click here for a
That's all
second.
right. Just keep on going because it should all work its way out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had a little bit. So for those that are watching this, right, this is a client of mine that we help send out is, hey, they actually sent a thank you card. What a
Mm-hmm.
concept. And guess what? It's signed by a robot. It's a good robot. The robots, not that Rob doesn't like robots, but these are pens. These are real pen robots. So, but the reality of it is that he's the CEO of a $15 million company. He wanted to do that. And I was like, there's a better way.
Mm-hmm.
We can help you organize it. We can help you get out. But literally, this is a thank you card.
Yeah.
And the thank you card says, thank you for the privilege of us letting to serve you. This is my business card. This is my cell phone number. If I can help in any way, please
Mm-hmm.
let me know.
You
And
know,
we get tons of reactions to that because we say thank you. It doesn't have to be
above
hard.
above me is I have I have a whole wall full of thank you cards that I've gotten, and I can't say a whole wall because there's like 12.
Yeah.
But
It's
you
easy to
know,
stand out, right?
but the thing is that I take any thank you card that I get and I staple them up there because the thing is that reminds me that that person took a moment of their life, not only to appreciate that I helped them in some way, but to send me something acknowledging that fact, and most people are like, well, Rob, thank you cards, that's kind of old school. And and they're all worried about their time. Okay, let's take time for a second. You spend 5 hours a night watching pointless television, and yet you
Exactly.
could have taken 10 minutes of that time to write a thank you card, to
Yeah,
address
it's
it, to
crazy,
pop it
right?
in the mail.
Yep. And then I know you love books, right? I wrote my first book, it'll be 5 or 6 years ago. Those books don't go away, right? So I'm
Mhm.
pointing my book Stuck on First. If you want a copy, you can go there. We'll tell you at the end how to get one. Literally, people don't throw them away.
No.
Now, the topic in the book at the time was relevant, was irrelevant, and is now relevant again. So what you write is timeless because it made sense at the time, right?
Hmm.
Just like Think and Grow Rich was written, whatever, almost 100 years ago, and we still go back to it and look at it as like, man, this is the anthem of every entrepreneur, is that Think and Grow Rich concept of what he uncovered by
Hmm.
kind of peeling back the onion of all those people at the time. And oh, by the way, and if you send them a book and then you send a thank you card saying, I hope you got time to read it, your close rate's going to go from this, digital marketing world of your 1, 3, 5%. You're going to be in the 50% range, right? And again, back to the may not be today, but it may be 3 years ago, 3 years from now. And when you build a real business, right? When you build and scale a real business, you just care that they buy from you, right? Classic Dan. It's not that just they buy, it's just they buy from you because you don't know when, right? You don't know when they're going to buy. Now, some transactional stuff, if you're buying a car, your car breaks down, whatever, but for the vast majority of entrepreneurs, is they obviously they want everyone to buy right now.
Hmm.
But one, they probably can't handle it because if they don't have systems and methods to help understand how they can execute it, right? There's one thing. And then the other side of it is some people don't want a big business, right? They don't want to take on tons of staff. Like Kennedy talks all the time. I've got, he had an assistant for years, and he talks about how much he hated when he had 35 people in the cassette factory, and we had, the other people in the fulfillment factory, how much he hated it. And some people just aren't wired that way.
Yeah.
So you have to create a business to meaningful scale. And by having these huge differentiators, it just changes the game, right? Totally changes the game, right? And that's what makes it fun because then you can, and I don't know where we got this is from leads, right? So now your lead quality, so your ability to track new leads is higher, right? Because you're an authority, and two, you're different.
Hmm.
You don't need to do 10,000 things. You don't need to drive these massively complicated funnels that generate a lot of people who aren't interested.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
going
I get these, and I'm sure everybody else gets these kind of emails that say, hey, we'll guarantee you 40 to 50, leads a month. And I look at them, I'm going, yeah, but you don't even know what I do.
right,
And here's the fact is that, you know, if you look at what I do, I only take on 1 to 2 new clients every month. That's it. Because I got to onboard them, I got to create all their marketing, it's a lot of work. And even though I have a team, I don't want 40 or 50 new clients. Now, maybe some of you do because you got, a way that you can systematize everything. But if you go to somebody and say, I'm going to generate you 40 to 50 new leads a month without knowing exactly what they want,
crazy,
yeah, it's crazy. So, but here's the thing is that by me taking on only 1 or 2 new clients a month, I can charge a lot higher prices.
right,
And it makes up for all those people that are, oh, wow, yeah, I got 40 or 50 new clients and they're all paying me $30 a month. Dude, get rid of
right,
all that
exactly,
whole system is bogus.
right. And the opposite side of it, right? So a business that I own with my wife works. She used to work. She's an interior designer. She used to work with 15 or 20 clients a year, and now she works with 4 or 5. Her revenues triple,
Hmm.
and the margins are double or triple from what they were before. Now they're bigger projects, they're more complicated, they're harder to get because we do the things that we talk about before, right? So, and then all of a sudden you become a category of one. If you convert right, you have it. So,
Hmm.
and I think people do it backwards. They should focus on how they can convert better before they try to fill their funnel up with top stuff. Hopefully we're not choppy, because I know Rob and I are looking at each other on video and I'm chopping up every once in a while. So we've only been Zooming for 4 years full time, and I Zoom. I have a team all over the world, so I Zoom constantly. So I'm pretty sure I'm okay, but hey, it happens, right? It's life.
Yeah, and the
But I
thing
think
is,
that's a big takeaway. Just,
well, just like this internet, just sometimes when we do get on Zoom and we have choppy connections, when you take on too many leads that you can't handle, that's what your business becomes. It becomes
right,
like the choppy internet. You can't deliver right. People
right.
are going to say, "Hey, man, your service is horrible because you're not following up." So when you keep systems in place where you're attracting the clients that you like, when you're following up with them, when you're making them feel like, hey, they're the most special client in the world, no more choppiness.
No more choppy feeds. And then you have the ability to build a business to scale whatever you want. So if you want to
Mhm.
go from, because everyone wants 100 clients or 1,000 clients, you got to start with one, then two, then four, then six, and eight. And I know that you talk about that all the time. Like, it's just hard work.
Yeah,
That's why I believe that, what is it, Edison or Ford said, people are afraid of it because it wears overalls and looks a lot like work.
yeah,
Now there's tricks that you can do so that you don't necessarily be responsible for everything that gets done, but it has to be you setting the stage and building the tone, and so that it gets done your way. Because if you let someone else just decide to do it however the hell they want to do it,
yeah.
they're not necessarily going to do it because they're civilians, right? A lot of them are civilians, and I'm sure
I
you don't have many civilians listening to this podcast.
no, they're all business owners. Some of them do put it in their car and their kids listen to it, and I've had that conversation already. But for me, it was always about the math, and people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you know, say your goal is $1 million a year in revenue, and you split it down. You say, well, if I had 3,000 clients and they're all giving me this amount of money, I can make that $1 million. Okay, but wouldn't it be easier just to have one client giving you $1 million? And that was kind
That's
of
hard
my
to do.
philosophy. Yeah, it is
It's
hard
hard.
to do.
It's hard to find $1 million client. I will say that.
But the thing is
But
that
finding
they are
20, $50,000 clients isn't really that hard. That's only one every, almost every little
right.
more than two
And that's what
weeks.
I'm getting to is that if you can look at it and say, I don't want to do a volume business. I want to do a controllable business where I'm charging them this amount and I'm still getting to my $1 million goal. And now you have time to go on vacations, you have time to have freedom, you have time to spend time with your family and yeah, isn't that what that's what you signed up to be an entrepreneur for?
A lot of people, I think, they really do lose fact of that's why they do it. They just like, now there's, we know, you and I know this, right? We have friends or family that are jealous, or they make comments, and my comment is just ignore them, because they don't get it anyway. So they don't realize that, you spent 15 years building something, or 10 years building something, and you're gaining the fruits of your labor and your leverage and your scale and other stuff. But the realization is that if we don't do it, no one else is. If you're
Right,
expecting someone to hand it to you, it ain't going to happen, right? So,
right.
and honestly, teach your kids. The fact that your kids are listening to it, teach your kids the same thing. They can learn how to be entrepreneurial as they're going through it. Funny story. Rob and I were talking before the call about some stuff I did with kids beforehand, but my kids are college age, and my oldest son has a really interesting career. He's a minor league baseball umpire, which is a cool job, but he only works 6 or 7 months out of the year. So he came back in the fall and said, Dad, what can I do to make X? I said, well, let's do the math. What do you want to make? Sounds familiar, right? Well, I want to make X. I go, okay, well, he's like, what can you do? I'm like, well, I'm not going to give, he's like, what can you give me? I'm like, I'm not going to give you anything. But if
Mhm.
you'd like the opportunity to earn, let's find something that you're interested in that we can deliver to, that'll provide value to our clients that we're not doing. And let's figure it out. And now 3 months later, he's got a nice little side gig that's going to equal his salary as in his previous thing. And so he just, in essence, he doubled his income because he's willing to take a risk. He's willing to work. And he goes, man, Dad, I can make an extra 200 or 300 bucks a day, and I can get it done in an hour or two. I said, good for you. That's
Mhm.
how it works.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how it begins. Right. That's how so giving these kids, giving people, listeners, even if you're working, listen to this as a side job or a side thing, find something you're interested in first. Making money is a byproduct. But it has to be profitable, because I've also dealt with people who have some crazy passion, and then they just buy a bunch of crap and they never do anything with it, right? So there's the flip side to that, is that they hopefully they align, and talking and listening to guys like Rob, like me, like these other guys like Kennedy, find something you're aligned to so that it's interesting to you, because then it doesn't feel like work, right? We
Yeah.
get to help clients. Rob and I have the best job in the world. We get to help people succeed. It's like the best job in the world. Like, I get to help clients. I don't have to go to work on Monday. I get to help clients. I get to help my staff. I get to help their staff. It's fantastic. It's like,
Yeah, you know,
it's like it's the real deal.
you know, back when I met Dan Kennedy back in 1998, you know, and granted that I didn't launch my first book until 2014, but I saw all these books that Dan was writing. And I'm like, wow, you know, that'd be kind of cool. You know, not only to have that kind of prestige, that authority, that you know, that respect. And I think that was the driving force for me to start writing all these books. You know, so 10 years ago, 2013, I launched my first book after being inspired. I came back from an Infusionsoft seminar in Arizona. I was on a plane. I'm thinking, I want to make this book simple. What do I do? And I was like, I started jotting down notes. Bam, there comes the first book. And people loved it. And so I created my own publishing company. Now, 43 books later in 10 years, people are like, wow, you're just like Dan Kennedy. Well, I'm not as grumpy. I'm more sarcastic. But
But that's okay. But yeah, and think about it. You're creating legacy, right? So no matter what, you're clearly the vanity metric of being a bestseller. You may or may not be bestsellers, but the reality of it is the audience that the book's written for, they're going to get something out of it, right? And then when it comes to the point of people listening want to write a book, listen, here, secret, how to write a book. Start writing. Secret number 2, keep going. Right. I wrote my first book. I did it backwards. I had done a cover. I had gone to a Dan event. I got the hold of Darcy, did some of her magical stuff. And then I was at a Tony Robbins event wearing a baseball jacket like this, freezing cold. If you've ever been to a Tony Robbins event, it's literally like frozen tundra. I'm sitting in the second row. One of my clients, I was really lucky at the time, Tony Robbins, one of my clients at the time. And he's screaming, hey, if you're not getting on with your life, you're not moving your business, you're just stuck on firsts. And literally that was the name of my book. And my wife's beating me like, would you finish the damn book? So, and I wanted to partner with small businesses, and I partnered with a local university. And part of the deal was, if you came to our program, got a copy of the book. And guess what happened after I put that out there and told the dean of the business school that everyone who would come to this seminar would get a copy of the book? Guess what happened? I finished the damn book, right? Typos and all. It's not perfect. I have a few typos in there. You can also reissue it. I went COVID. I wrote some stuff that they're kind of like, you can reissue it. Obviously, with all this on-demand publishing, there's so many ways to do it, but the fundamentals are still the same. And I people, when you read the book and you know me or you've heard me, it feels like you're talking to Bryan, because you're talking to Bryan.
Yeah.
And it's fun because it's just, you become a category of one about what you did and how you did it. And it doesn't matter because, again, you wrote the book. You gotta, and I think most people who get help get it done better, faster, and have more ways to use it, because they don't know how to use it, right? Yeah. There's a publisher in my community who helps people publish books, and then they go broke because they don't know what to do with it. Right? There's a lot of these big vanity publishers that promise you the moon, but then they don't put your book. So you got to put that book in the hand of your perfect future client.
Yeah, that was the whole deal when I started my publishing company. I had shopped my first book around, and everybody not only wanted thick technical books that were boring as crap, but they weren't going to market my book. I'm like, oh, why am I paying you to do all this stuff if you're not going to market it? Because we all know marketing is the lifeblood of anything. So I said, screw it, I'm going to do it my own. I'm going to market it my own way. And the funny thing is now people send me pictures of themselves posing with my books all the time. And so my readers have become my cheerleaders, which then, gets me more clients. So
and it works in any industry. Yeah. I mean, my wife wrote a book about interior design, she's an interior design coach. She wrote a book about how to elevate your business, right? It's magnetic marketing for interior designers. It's her play on two things that she does about referrals and shock and awe boxes. So you know what they are. If you don't, I'm sure you'll have episodes on them. I'm sure there are some in the archives.
Yeah.
Literally, the business, that is the lifeblood of the business. And guess what? Those are the two components of Dan's 10 steps for magnetic marketing
Yeah.
that make her the most money. I mean, both books we have, they've done 7 figures worth of work for both of us multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what do you, yeah, it was a lot of work, yes, but if you could invest X amount of dollars and get $1 million, you would do it in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Now it
And
requires some sweat and some blood and some actually work, to go back to the theme of the day.
no,
The results are
and
fantastic.
well, you know, here and you know, I tell people all the time, I said, look, I don't make tons of money off Amazon. Amazon is just a vehicle I put the books on so that, you know, people can buy them out of the country that I don't serve. But I sell more, you know, from my own website, and I give a lot of them away for the sole purpose of capturing that client, you know, capturing that reader as a future client. And if I know that the average cost of a client or what they're going to spend with me in a year, maybe 50, 60, $100,000, giving them a $3 book or my cost of $3, you know,
Right.
it's
Nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
But yeah, people will spend $3,000 a month on Google Ads and then never follow up.
Right.
So, like, what would you rather, like, well, okay, spend $25,000, whatever it is, to get a book done these days, and then market and put it in the hands of your perfect future client. That is literally the most important thing you could do, because your face is on it. Now, I will tell you, I'm redoing my cover, because for those of you that are listening, it's got me with sunglasses on it. At the time, I was doing the business coach aspect, and I was a baseball guy. My kids are super involved in baseball. My oldest is still in the game as a professional, on the other side of the line, so to speak. But still, it's just go do it, and then think about the other stuff you can do with it. Now you have a basis for your social media. Now you've got a basis for your blogs. You've got foundations of your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every business owner has common questions people ask,
Yeah.
right? There are people that you can interview people in your industry, turn that into a book. Like, there's all kinds of ways. There's a million ways to get that done. But then, if you want to use it to have the most attracted lead strategy, it's a category killer.
Well,
It really is.
and spending time to be guests on podcasts is another way to generate leads, because you know
Absolutely.
you're coming on as a guest, you're sharing your thoughts, your experiences, your knowledge to a whole different audience, and you know, people recognize that, and at the end they'll say, wow, that's great, I'm going to visit the guy's website or the person's website, and now you have future business.
Yeah, and I did a lot, and then I got away from it because my business, obviously, like every other entrepreneur, I have entrepreneur ADHD. So I keep saying no more than yes, which is really, 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 really hard. I will tell you, that's $1 million lesson, is say no more than you say yes. And even as much as it feels like it's a short-term gain, it's a long-term pain, right? I guess that's
Mhm.
kind of the way to do it. But as you get more mature, now I'm mature now, and I've been at it a while. Say
I'm
no is
not
okay, but
mature.
no,
I'm
well, yeah, I
54
didn't,
and I
yeah.
still am not mature.
All right, let me say this. So, because I'm a sales pro, right? So so a lot of people, maybe they'll listen to this. They're an artist, they're an expert, they're technical, they're attorneys or whatever. So they're going, oh, you know, what do I do to follow up, right? What should I say? And I always tell them one thing: just say thank you. One is the easiest thing to say. There's no script in the world. It says thank you. Thank you for getting my book. Thank you for giving me 10 minutes of your day. And then the last thing they need to say is, how can I help? I'm
Mhm.
here when you need me. That's it. So we can make it more complicated. Every sales funnel, every email automation, all the other stuff has those components. But for those of you that are thinking I can't do it, that's all you need to do. Because, you know, go on your phone and talk to past customers, send them a text. I've
Mhm.
been thinking about you. How are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Genuinely caring is another way to nurture leads. Like, actually be authentic.
Yeah.
You can use all, like, you know, if you guys are on LinkedIn, you get those, I'm going to get you 30 or 50 leads a day. No, they're not good leads. You could send one a day and be authentic. Because if
Mhm.
you send one a day and you do the math, because we do LinkedIn stuff, you do one personalized message a day to your perfect future client or referral source or whatever. You offer them a book, a free report, whatever. You do that every day in a year, you have 480 people, right? It's one a day. There's 240 days and 240 business days in a year.
Hmm.
Think about that. 240 perfect future clients that you've made an offer to of something, right? And if the offer is great, the books are fantastic. They convert better than anything else. Literally. Now, some of them are tire kickers and, they're not going to do them all, but I mean,
Well,
you
yeah,
don't need to go crazy.
and here's the flip side of books is that everybody wants an audiobook or everybody wants it on Kindle. And yes, I do publish my books in paperback and on Kindle. Personally, I hate Kindle. Personally, I don't want to listen to an audio book. And so people will say, "Well, Rob, I don't read. Can you put your book on, Audible?" And I'm like, "No, because you're not my ideal client. My ideal client actually picks up a book and reads it." And then they get all offended. But the thing is, those people who actually pick up a book, who actually take time to read the book, become better clients. So you have
100%.
to understand who your dynamic or ideal client is and just say no to all the rest. It's not even
Exactly.
that, that people are like, well, Rob, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are going to be paying the asses and the 20% are going to, fulfill your bucket, with money. No, I think it's like 98 to 2%, because that 2% is going to be the ones that are making you all the money, and the 98% you got to get rid of.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure it was Dan talked about, or someone else that talked about it. I want to be the most famous. I want to be the most famous guy at the muffler bearing conference because I'm an expert on muffler bearing, and I wrote a book about muffler bearings and steering lubrication, and I'm the speaker at it, right? So, little automotive joke, but so really, like, you don't need some big audience, right? So if you do the math, if you're a consultant or you're an attorney or you're financial advisor, whatever, and your average case is 50 grand or 100,000, how many people, qualified people, do you need to talk to, right? And then the difference is that how many people don't follow up?
Mm-hmm.
99% of them. They
Yeah.
say that professional salespeople give up after the third try. That's crazy. They're the pros because and the system is kind of gamed against them. I was in the system. You're always taught to bring business forward, which is great if the client's willing and able to bring it forward. But
Mm-hmm.
what if they don't or can't?
Mm-hmm.
You're screwed, right? So as an entrepreneur, you can kind of live through that, but you can't plan your life and plan your business if you don't know what's coming tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the idea of your lead strategy is that you got to put somebody in the top of the bucket. You got to close some, and some of the ones that are rest still got to be good. Some are going to go away, right? I think Dan talks about 1%, 4%, 1, 4, 15, right? The top 20% are even broke down in three categories. 1% is going to buy everything right now. 4% is going to buy something relatively soon. 15% may buy in the next 30 or 60 days. The bottom 80% don't know when.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to just focus on, most people just focus on that 1%? You go to a car dealership, what do they say? What do I need to do to get you to buy a car today? I need you to go back to 1990 and forget you ever learned those words, right? Kind of stuff. But
For me,
uh,
it was never about attraction marketing, and I know a lot of people follow attraction marketing and they love the concept, but for me, it was always rejection marketing. I'm going to reject all of you people until that one person keeps bugging me. Hey, Rob, I want to be your client, and they open their wallet up, they give me their credit card, and they give
exactly.
me their money. Until they pay me, they're still a pain in the ass.
Yeah, people forget that magnets have two poles, right? The negative and a positive. They they
Mhm.
they they forget that. I mean, to talk about the true thing is the negative it's just going to push away, and they get all mad. And people say, well, they unsubscribe. Well, good, they're wasted your time.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah,
You don't have to bother tracking them. You don't have to bother worrying about them.
I got a LinkedIn message the other day, and it basically said that if I'm an oxygen breather, they want me as a connection on LinkedIn. I went through this whole spiel of why I'm not an ideal client then, and finally the guy's like, Rob, you just wasted my time and unfriended me, or took away his connection request. And
Yeah.
but see that's entrepreneurs do the same thing. They're like, I'm so desperate right now. I need anybody that has money to pay me to become a client. No, you don't. When I had the cleaning business, And I still see this now, even today in the cleaning business. People will call and they'll say, when's the soonest I can get on a schedule? And you got this desperate, hungry carpet cleaner going, hey, I could be there in 2 hours. No, you can't. Be there in 2 weeks. That way you have time to send them information about your company, about your, all your programs, you want to be able to sell them before you get there, so that when you get there, instead of being so desperate that you only get $100, now you're prepping that client so that they're going to spend 500, 600, 800 hours. So they're willing to spend 8 times more if you just prep them on how to do it.
Yeah, don't shortcome yourself on that, because there are premium buyers in every market. I don't care where it is. There are premium buyers everywhere. They say, "Oh, I live in Naples. It's an affluent market, right? Oh, you must be nice to deal with affluent people." Well, there's regular people here too. But even in the world of affluency, there's affluency, and then there's affluency, and then there's insanity, and then there's the 1% of insanity, right? So, when you have your own private $20 billion hedge fund and it's you and your brother-in-law, that's a different level of wealth than the guy that owns 10 carpet cleaning trucks. Like,
Yeah.
that's the big guy in Wichita,
Well,
right? So
and
that's just all.
the funny thing is that I had 2 trucks at my peak, and I was making more money than the guy that had 8 trucks, because he was underbidding everything. He just thought you know, he just wanted his name out there, and that's great. We all want our name out there. But if you're going in as a cheap price and I'm going in as a premium service, I'm going to make more money working less than you are with all your equipment and trucks. You got more overhead to pay.
Right. We talked about before, right? Our little design business. It's my wife and a part-time assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't believe the volume. And for her, it's a full-time job. She wants it to be part-time, but it's been a fantastic couple of years, and we're going to take advantage of that, because you got to do that. You got to make hay when the sun shines.
Mm-hmm.
But that's setting us up for the next round and the other stuff, because we know our numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know the inputs, we know the cycle, right? We live in a market where, you think that if you're in a seasonal market, right? We're in a seasonal market now where everyone's here, but their buying cycle doesn't happen for another 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while they're here having a good time partying, guess what we're doing? We're enjoying ourselves, because we don't have to,
Right.
because the work gets done in the off season. So if you have a seasonal business, you have an opportunity to make it an all year business by doing things differently,
Yeah.
and changing the conversation.
And differently does not mean utilizing AI. And although AI is a tool, some of you guys have decided that you're going to make AI your whole entire system, but you don't understand how it works. And instead of understanding the fundamentals, you just skipped a whole bunch of steps, went right to the AI and said, hey, help me with my business. It doesn't work. Sorry.
No, so that'll work if you're Verizon and you have a question about your bill and you can't stand Verizon, because I just did that, or Comcast, and you don't, and you want to know why your service is shut off, and they're just telling you because you didn't pay your bill, your credit card didn't work, something, right? So will AI help you get to the right person sooner? Yeah, I think so, right? But for the average, 90% of America works for small business. Again, is it a tool? Absolutely. Do we? Absolutely. Does it replace the human touch as it relates to every single thing we do? Absolutely not. Right. So does it make it better? Some stuff, yeah. Some stuff, I don't think so.
Well, and here's the thing about human touch. We didn't want to deal with it during COVID, so we brought in all these tools to systematize and automate everything. The problem is that your ideal client yearns for not only your attention, but for you to actually acknowledge them. So to continue using AI to force them into funnels that just drive them crazy is going to turn them away. So reach out to them I'm not going to say on a daily basis or a weekly basis, but at least every month. Send them something, a newsletter, a postcard, an email, just, letting them know that you're still around, you're still available to talk. Some of these people, they're willing to give you a lot of money. They just want to know that you care.
And don't be afraid to mix it up. Rob made a really important point. Email's great. Let it now. Can you introduce yourself using an automation? Right. Yes, absolutely. You can send a simple automation with 2 or 3 steps. Doesn't need to be some giant
No,
customer
but
journey that's 97
I've
steps
talked
long.
about this before on another podcast. In fact, if you guys go back when I
Right.
interviewed Barry Jacobson, he was a
There you
former
go.
exec at Disney. I said, one of the things that Disney could do, and any business can do, is that if I'm coming to the park, they can send me an email or a video from a cast member. Hey, Rob, this is great. You're coming to the park. These are the rides that we think that you should ride today. And then midday, hey, Rob, did you get a chance to ride these rides? You know, when you can send personalized video to your clients at different stages of time, they're going to be more excited. They're going to trust you. They're going to, do the things that you want them to do. But see, nobody does that. I don't get messages from Disney. I don't say, nobody says, hey, Rob, you just spent a whole day at the park. Can you give us your feedback? Well, yeah, my feet hurt because I walk 16 miles a day because your dumb app had me walking all over the place.
Absolutely.
But if you could guide them through the stages in your automation, that automation needs to reach them on a human level. But we don't do that. We just send them an email that says, hi, Rob, or blah, blah, blah. No picture, no video, no nothing. Give them something that they can fully digest, that they can see you. I'm not saying interact with you,
Right.
but it has to come from your heart and not an automation.
Yeah. One of the things that's also clever that if you're unsure of what to talk about you and your family and vacation and interests, right? So I carefully mentioned, like, it was an accident. I talk about the baseball thing. My whole baseball and business, there's a tie together, right? I talk about you can't succeed in business without a coach, teammates, and a plan. That's just the nature of kind of the world we're in. And I got away from it. And I was in a mastermind. And that's another thing. If you're not in a mastermind, you need to get in one with somebody. And someone said, Bryan, you were always doing the baseball thing. Why'd you get away from that? And I go, good question. Why did I? I don't know.
Yeah.
So just stick with your identity, right? So for those of you watching it, I'm wearing a baseball jacket. It's Florida. I'm in the air conditioning, but I'm wearing a jacket because it's kind of the thing, right? So
and my thing is sarcasm. And if you've read any of my Rob Versus books, I mean, there's 8 of them now. There's 2 more scheduled for 2024, so there'll be 10. But every single book is designed around the idea of rejection marketing and running your business the way you want. For me, it's wasting scammers' times, morons' times, and telling people about lousy customer service. But at the end of every story, there's always a little lesson. And
don't
I
be
don't
that guy.
I don't want people to, and I used to write these brilliant books, and it gives people ideas and all. The thing is that I want to make them laugh first, then give them a little life lesson, because now they're more they can laugh through the whole book and, oh, Rob, you're that sarcastic guy. I really want you, helping me. Great, that's my identity. And we all know Dan Kennedy, is a grumpy marketing guy that that uses ancient technology to teach us stuff. These, microfiche things and overhead
He still
projectors.
uses them apparently. So
Oh,
apparently
he
he's
is.
still using them.
But yeah, thing is, that's his identity. This is my identity. This is Bryan's identity. And so each one of us needs to have that unique identity to showcase our. And the thing is that identity, that personality becomes our brand. That lets people know who we are and what we do. And it's not to say that we're assholes. No, we have your back. And as a client, we will do whatever we have to do to make sure that you win too. But this is who we are. We're not going to change it.
Exactly. Hey, that's so cool. Yeah. So that's a big takeaway, right? So just be who you are. If you, I think it's, Rob talked about audiobooks and not being a fan. I will tell you, I've read Psycho Cybernetics 2 or 3 times and I could never get through it. But there was an audiobook version where Dan Kennedy was the actual, he spoke the book. I think it's probably one of the only books he actually talked through it. And I got through it because one of the big things as entrepreneurs and business owners, we have to let the water of the duck, whatever, the water get off your back. And that's easier said than done. So
Mhm.
in the book, they give you actual Dr. Maltz gives you techniques that you can learn to do because I'm a chronic. Lee Miltier was mentioned to when in a pre-call. Lee Miltier challenged me that I'm a chronic pleaser, that I wanted to help people, and that can lead to cancer. That can lead to accepting bad people influencing my life. So I had to
Mhm.
realize, like, hey, listen, guess what? I just need to ignore that shit and forget about it. Although it's fun to kind of do the Rob thing where you want to like, I want to like the next guy that sends the calendar thing to me that says, hey, I want to, here's my calendar, book it up. I'm going to post it on every public forum and say, just blow this guy's calendar up, will you, for the next week? So, but then the funny part is he's going to go on social media and say, look, I got 120 meetings. Yeah, they're all people who are scamming your time and wasting your time kind of stuff. But yeah, but don't be, that's, I think of all the stuff we've talked about, that let that like that reflection, that's probably the hardest for most people to get their head around,
Yeah.
and it's the hardest to implement
Yeah. Yeah. One of the
because
questions I always ask new clients, have you read any of my books? And if they say no, I'll say, well, look, let me pop a couple books in the mail, read them, and then we'll talk.
if
No,
you
no,
don't
no.
want to call me, I won't
I
cry.
want to hire you right now. No, you got to read my books.
Right.
I can Amazon, send them through Amazon. I can send them through, my own company. I can sign them if you want my signature, whatever. But you got to at least read one of my books.
Yep.
From
And
that
then
point,
actually, I'm not sure where we are on time, but I do know that on the whole book thing, and that's where we by the way, this was not a pre-planned pitch for anything that has to do with books. It's just literally we want to talk about leads. You want to stand out. Autograph copies are the best thing. So if any of you do have a local marketing segment to your business where you go to local events, if you go to an event, I used to panel pre-COVID. I used to panel pretty regularly in our community, and then one time, university president was there, president of Chamber of Commerce, like see executive of a multi-billion-dollar business, had a panel discussion, and Bryan brought 20 copies of his books, and guess who had a line at the end of the event? So guess who was the famous one? So literally, the other guy said, "You had to upend me." I'm like, "No, it's not easy because I wrote a book and you didn't." Right. And
hmm
if and the guy at the university probably did write a book, but I said, "You probably wrote a book, but nobody cares about it because you had to write a book to get your PhD." I wrote a book because I wanted to share my story. Right.
yeah. Well,
So
the
it's just a fun. It just
about
becomes a
13 years ago, I was using business cards, right? And this is a tent size business card, and it says the front of the card says, "Do you want to know the two most important elements to make your website and social media fan pages more effective? Flip open right now to find out." So when you flip open, it says keywords and content. And it says, now that you know the answer, what are you going to do right now to make your website and social media pages more effective? And it goes on and on and on. And on the back, and it has my ancient photo and a phone number and my LinkedIn, information and a little bit about me, right? I don't give these out anymore. I got a whole box of these somewhere. I don't give them out. People are like, well, why don't you give them out? Because I give books out now.
all right.
My books are a better lead generation than any business card will ever be.
Yep. And
Books,
you probably don't go through millions, right? Do you give out 100 a month? Probably not.
no,
Yeah, it's a
no,
handful, right?
and although business cards are brilliant and they're easy to take with you, books are more effective. Books
So
are the ultimate.
when was the last time you threw a book out?
Throw a book out. I don't throw books out.
Yeah. If you move, the only time you'll ever throw a book out is if you move.
and the
And
thing
and then you have to have that real debate with your spouse or
oh,
significant other.
I'm never moving. This is our forever home. I've been here 20 years. I've talked about moving, downsizing, but then I'd have to get rid of the kids and yeah, and so she wants to keep this house forever.
That's awesome. But there's
But
a reason why they're super sticky, right? So that extends to the marketing lesson behind this is that it extends your follow-up life
well,
cycle
I want to tell you a story.
for forever.
I gave a book to John Benson years ago. John Benson is a world-class copywriter, and I said to him, I said, I called, I sent him a text. I said, hey, did you get a chance to read the book? He goes, I paged through it and then I left it on the airplane. Okay, whatever. 3 weeks went by. Somebody calls me up. Hey, I read your book. He goes, I found it on an airplane. I started doing work for him. So yeah, John, maybe John didn't become my client, but that book traveled,
Yeah.
and that book found somebody who was going to be a client. So
Yep.
you never know where the book's going to go. See, the thing is, these things end up in the trash can.
Absolutely.
Books don't.
Once your pile gets too big, you go, no, 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 no. It's A pile, B pile, right? It's no, 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 no. Oh yeah, I should probably go the hell that. No, 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 no. Right. The books are never gonna go it.
Yeah.
And then like me, for those that are watching, I got my books behind me and they're lit up in ways. And so now you've set a stage for every one of your calls. So now you're an authority because someone goes, oh, I'm writing a new book. I'm not going to put it's called Virtual Team Secrets. So I had a cover made and I was on a call. And the guys, wait a second. You know about virtual teams? What are you talking about? I'm like, well, yeah, it's just kind of the back. It's the getting done part, right? Nobody wants to actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't hire people. They hire agencies directly. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So like this is our under the cover of how we do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And literally they goes, so you never know, right? And by the way, the book behind me, it was blank. It was just a cover with 120 blank pages in it that were just filler notes. So I took it to an event and I said, well, here's my new book. Can I don't, it's a preview copy. It's not ready for publishing. So could I get you on the list to do that? And then, oh, that's fantastic. So again, there's some marketing tricks you can do to pull some of that demand forward while you're doing it. Because then, by the way, you still have to finish it, right? You can't just go, oh, I'm going to hire a ghostwriter and they're going to, I mean, they help you, but you have to have some of your, I don't know how you approaches, but I'm sure it's an intimate experience where your story is the meat and potatoes of something. Now, there's always some mechanical parts of things that have to get done, but the core of writing your book is your story.
Yeah. Yeah. The most of the books that I've written for lawyers, they're all storybooks. They all have stories on how that attorney has helped somebody, right? And it's only the beginning, the introduction, or the back end where it's called the call to action that are different.
Yeah, that's it.
And so you get on these podcasts and you share your story, you clip that story, you transcribe it, that becomes a chapter in your book.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah,
easy.
so amazing today with the technology that's out there that can help you facilitate it, right? And by the way, 1,000 people listen to this, 999 people swear they're going to write a book, and one will.
Yeah.
Another classic Dan statement. But be the one who's different. Be the one who does it.
Well,
Do it yourself. Some help, whatever.
What is it? Maybe 3% of the people who ever say that they're going to write a book will actually write a book.
I think it's less than that. I'm
It's
going to take the under on that one.
And very few ever get past writing a third book. So for me to do 43 books in 10 years, it's
good for you.
It's like Han Solo. He says, "Never quote me the odds." I'm just
good for you on that one. Yeah, I don't think I can do it. I'm working on my third one. I helped the client write a second one. I'll never do that again. It was a fun experience, but it took. We were not the right personality types. I was like, let's get this done, and then it got to be, instead of being a lead generation book, it was a how-to book, and the how-to book became technical, and it became a reference book. I think that's what you said. The board, so it became the reference book, right? And as a result, it kind of missed the mark as a lead gen. It still worked.
Yeah.
But it was significantly harder, and that's a different animal. The how-to books, because if you're going to put it out there, your peers are going to pick it up, and if you care what they say, you better be prepared to hear it if they don't like what you have to say. Mm-hmm. So you better be prepared. Lead gen book, a story book. Yeah, it's your story. Go, you don't like it, go jump off a bridge, right?
So those who haven't jumped off a bridge, how do they find you? Where do they go?
So actually, I think I talked about it before. So if they go to virtualteamsecrets.com, they will go to it'll get redirected to my main website. They can download a free copy of a PDF copy of my book. And if they want to learn more about what I'm doing to help people in different ways, they're more than welcome to reach out. But my intention, when Rob asked, do you want to help? I said, absolutely, coach, put me in, tell me what I need to do. So hopefully one nugget from the last, 40 minutes or so is something that could change your life, because everything I've shared today has changed mine. Mm-hmm. I know it's changed Rob's, and he's helping other people. So I hope that finds you well. And we're recording this just before the holidays, so hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And with that, this is what makes Bryan with a Y an e-hero. And I want you guys to go check him out. He's on Facebook. He's on probably LinkedIn.
LinkedIn for sure. LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. So all over
LinkedIn.
And,
go to virtualteamsecrets.com and You don't have to tell them I sent you, but that would be nice. So with that, we'll see you guys on the next episode. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.